Welcome back to I Accidentally Married a Filipina. My name is Rob, but this is not my story. This is a story that two of our subscribers sent in. Let me get on with it. My name is Steve, and I'm a 57-year-old police officer in my last year of service before I retire from the police force in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I was happily married for 20 years. I lost my wife 7 years ago to illness, and I never really recovered from that loss. I don't want to spend too much time on that period of my life because even though it's been 7 years, my heart still aches for her. I buried myself in my work as a police officer, and for 5 straight years, I took every extra overtime that was offered, and I worked myself to death to try and forget my wife. After 5 years, I was exhausted, and one day I just stopped and took a long weekend to examine where I was at. I looked at my bank account, and I was able to squirrel away over $200,000. So I felt enough was enough and went to HR the next Wednesday and looked at my retirement options. The HR clerk told me I would qualify for 80% pension at the end of this year, or stay for another year, and it would be a 100% pension. Not that I cared really, but the young clerk was a very attractive, well-spoken Asian woman. Something made my stomach flip like I just saw my prom date. I had not felt that feeling in many years, so I made up questions to ask her just so I could keep looking at her. This charade kept up until my sergeant walked up behind me and barked at me to quit hitting on his wife. I was startled and embarrassed all at the same time. Then they both burst out laughing at the stunned look on my face, and I told him I'm just getting some retirement information, and he said, "Not too soon, I hope." We talked about it, and he said he wasn't too far behind me and that they were planning to move to Leah's home country of the Philippines to retire on a beach and drink Mai Tais all day. I said, "That sounds fantastic, Sarge." Sarge then proceeded to offer me a second shift for the rest of the week. I told him I had all the overtime I wanted and would be coasting into retirement. Then he said, "Since you're so rich, meet us out at O'Malley's and you're buying." I will confess I hadn't been out in years and I didn't want to go, but I wanted more time to look at his beautiful wife. I'd go home and nap and clean up and head over to O'Malley's and meet Sarge and Leah. I felt flush as I looked at Leah as she had on a modest amount of makeup and dressed in a more form-fitting sundress that accentuated her dark skin tone. We were shown to our table and I collected myself as we settled in for some pasta and a couple of beers. I hadn't felt this normal in years. I don't think I had even laughed hard in the past 5 years. "This was fun," I exclaimed as I picked up the check and shook Sarge's hand and thanked Leah and said, "Hey, can we do this again?" Leah looked at Sarge and said, "Yes, but you must bring a date, Steve." All of the air left the room as a look of horror hit Sarge's face, and he quickly shook his head no at Leah. Leah was confused as Sarge apologized, and I said no problem as I weakly walked to my pickup. Back at work, and Leah found me as I was writing up a report and apologized and said she didn't know. I told her it was in the past and I was okay. She said to make it up to me, her and Sarge would take me out to dinners at O'Malley's, only this time it would be their treat. I accepted, if only because I had learned something the last time. If I don't leave the house, I would probably retire and die in the house within 5 years. I needed to be out in society, and I needed to see people, and I needed to laugh. So we agreed to meet at 7 p.m. Saturday evening, and I even considered taking a date, but I had no idea how to get a date at all, and certainly not in a couple of days. So I Googled it and found a certain local dating app and joined and got a couple of hits. I emailed a woman who appeared from her pictures to be somewhere around the 42 years she advertised in her profile, and she was very attractive, so we exchanged dating site messages for a couple of hours and then on to texting. Things were going well, and she asked if we could meet at Chili's and have a drink Friday evening. Before I answered, I went back to the dating app and downloaded her photos to my computer and enlarged them enough to look for any red flags. She was cute and all looked normal. When we were texting, she seemed a little shy and conservative, which I found attractive. The appointed time came and I went up to the bar and waited for my first date in 20 years to arrive. As I sat there facing the door, I expectantly surveyed every woman that entered the door, and none were her. I really had no patience and was about to leave, and a familiar-looking woman enters. It resembled my date, but only if she were 70 years old. Great, I mumble. She is so shy she sent her mother in here to check me out before she would meet me. Her mother walks directly up to me and introduces herself as my date. And if I look past the 25 years of a rough life, I could see her in there somewhere. In my mind, I am outraged, but in the spirit of, I'm already here, and I need to get out more often, and I can't wait to hear the excuses, I decided to weather the storm just for the pure entertainment value. I introduce myself and offer to buy her a beer. She orders, and then I order the really big mug o' beer to help with the situation. I totally play it straight and listen to her act as if she is 42 and how tough it is out in the dating world. I try not to laugh by taking a big gulp of my beer. Then she says men always want to split the check, and it wasn't that way back in the day. I take another big gulp. She says one guy up and left one time when she used the restroom. I take another big gulp of my beer. Then she proceeded to tell me one man denied he was who she talked to online and said that he was waiting for dinner with his mother, but she knew it was him. Another big gulp of beer, and my glass was empty. I paid the tab, shook her hand, and thanked her for meeting me, and I hightailed it out the door. Saturday rolled around, and I met Leah and Sarge at O'Malley's, and we decided on pizza this trip. Sarge asked me what was new, and I regaled him and Leah with my first and last dating app story from the previous night, and they both laughed until they cried. They laughed so hard it made me start, and I couldn't laugh. I couldn't stop either. Luckily, the pizza arrived and we pulled ourselves together. We all had so much fun recounting our past dating disasters and had a big time. I really did feel normal being around these two. Sarge excused himself to the restroom, and Leah awkwardly asked me if I really was ready to date again. I said I was because I knew I couldn't stand to be lonely one more day, and I was sure it would be different after I retired. She said it would be no different after I retired. She said that if I found Asian women attractive, she could introduce me to her sister. She looks like me. She's 34 years old, long black hair, graduated senior high school, works at a hotel, and never married. She pulls her phone out to show me pictures of her sister, and Sarge walks back to the table and says, "Leah, put your phone up. Steve doesn't want you to pawn your sister off on him." I look at Sarge and say, "Maybe I do, Sarge." Couldn't be any worse than yesterday's date. By the time I get home, Leah sends me a picture of her sister Luzelle and her Facebook information and recommends that I friend request her and send her a hello message. So I friend request her as I peruse her Facebook page looking for clues to her true identity. I don't want another Chili's surprise. Luzelle is as attractive as her sister Leah. As I read her posts and comments, she seems to be well-spoken and not uneducated. She mostly has photos of her and her family going on vacations around the Philippines and some nights out with work friends. I find the landscapes in the background almost as attractive as I find Luzelle. I did not leave a comment because this overseas thing is all too new for me, and I'm not sure I'm truly ready to open my heart up just quite yet. I kind of fall into a pattern of working regular shifts, going home and watching the news, cook supper, and stalk Luzelle's social media. Each Saturday I meet Sarge and Leah out at O'Malley's for dinner. I know they are only having pity on me, but I enjoy their company. This particular Saturday, as we are back on another pizza night, Leah asks me how it is going with Luzelle. I tell her we are Facebook friends and I have enjoyed looking at her photos and reading her comments. Leah asks why I haven't even so much as liked one of her photos. Did you find my sister ugly? Is she too old or too poor for you? No, I say. I find her and your country very attractive. Leah then asked, well, why don't you send her a message or a comment to show your interest? I had never seen this side of Leah before. She was boldly standing up for her sister, but I didn't know why. Sarge says for Leah to calm down and that I need some small steps first. I say thanks, Sarge, and Leah looks disgusted and pulls out her phone and begins feverishly tapping. She then stands up and walks around to my side of the table and shoves the phone in my face and says, Steve, please say hello to my sister Luzelle on this video chat.
My name is Luzelle. I am from city of Baguio. My father is Philippines National Police Officer and my mom stay home on the outside of city. I work in big hotel and keep a small room in the basement of hotel where I work. I do good in senior high school and have same job in same hotel for 13 years. I do not have good luck with Filipino man, so I just work many hours to help my mom and dad at home. My eldest sister Leah married a foreign and lives in Oklahoma with her husband. Leah told me to find a foreign, but I feel shy. A Kano named Steve friend requested me and my sister said I should look at him. He is good man with good job at her work. I accept him, but he never makes moves, so I forget him. One time in my morning Leah video call and put me in Steve. I was very embarrassed, but I think Steve is very guapo man and now I hope he contact me.
After dinner, when Leah put Luzelle right in my face on video call, I couldn't help but see just how attractive she was. I awkwardly waved and said hello, but this didn't seem like the time or the place, so I thanked Luzelle and excused myself. Sarge gave Leah a dirty look and turned to me and said, "You kind of got to at least send a message now, officer." We said our goodbyes, and I went home and sent Luzelle a quick message before I went to bed because, after all, she was very pretty. I woke up Sunday and Luzelle had left an equally short reply to my quick message, and it made my heart skip a beat. No real reason other than I think my heart is starting to wake up from its frozen slumber. I crafted a better message with some questions in it, and I sent it to her. To my surprise, my computer dinged right away. It was Luzelle. She had answered my message. We spent the better part of an hour messaging back and forth, and it seemed easier than I thought it would. After the hour of messages, Luzelle had to go to sleep, so I made breakfast and headed out to the Bricktown Riverwalk. Cool place to walk around and enjoy the shops, restaurants, and bars, or even take a boat ride through the man-made river. I thought how cool this would be to stroll hand in hand with Luzelle. But baby steps are called for, as I remind myself where my life is right now. I stopped for lunch at the Sonic Drive-In and ordered a burger and tater tots for this American man. I then head back home and watch the Dallas Cowboys play, and after the game it was dinner, and then I make a bold move and video call Luzelle. She answers right away, and after some awkward silence we get on a roll, and soon enough Luzelle has to get ready for work. That 45 minutes flew by fast. It was much more comfortable than I thought it would be, I thought as I readied myself for bed. I woke up the next morning to a video chat from Luzelle. We chatted as I got myself ready for work, and off I went. I stopped by to see Leah, and she congratulated me on finally video chatting her sister. I told her she was a delight, and Leah said Luzelle thinks I'm boyfriend material. I say wow, and head to my office thinking, I am flattered, but slow down. Baby steps. It takes me about 35 minutes to head home from work, so I think, what a great way to kill some time chatting with Luzelle. She is awake and said she is hoping I would call. It was a smooth call again, as she is probably the most truly sweet woman I have ever talked to. She is calm, sweet, respectful, feminine, and a little shy. All in all, a great combo. This pattern repeats itself every day for a couple of months, and I feel as though Luzelle is becoming the best part of my life, albeit from 9,000 miles away.
I have been chatting Steve now almost 3 months every day. He is good man. He is kind man, but he never say he will visit me in Philippines. I feel he is my soulmate. We never bicker or fight. Only kind words. I think he would make good husband. I will continue to chat, but I pray every day he will visit me. Talking to Steve make me hate my lonely life. Only work, eat, sleep and work again. Why should I not have a husband? Why should I not have happy life? I am too old maid now. I do not want to die this way.
I head into work and, as usual, stop in to say hi to Leah. She said I had better look at my leave time I have accrued, as some of it was going to disappear if I didn't use it. I retort, what am I going to do? Sit at home for a month and do nothing but watch soap operas, eat pizza, and drink beer? No thanks. They can just disappear for all I care. Leah looks at me and sternly says, Steve, you can man up and go visit your girlfriend in Baguio instead of just leading her on. Either you make plans to go to Baguio or leave her alone and break her heart. I was stunned, to say the least. I had not even considered visiting Luzelle. I was enjoying passing my time just chatting with a happy person. It didn't cross my mind that she wanted me to visit her. This is not a baby step. On my way home, I video chat Luzelle as per usual, and she seems a little down and faking being happy. This is way out of character for her, so I ask if she didn't sleep well or something. She says, my sister says you have free sick days and you don't like me enough to visit me. I feel foolish for chatting 3 months and liking you. Then she hung up. She wasn't being mean, but probably was well warranted. I called back, but she didn't answer. I felt terrible. Was I leading her on? Was I being selfish, letting her heal my broken heart without even thinking of her feelings? It is going to be difficult to sleep tonight.
I hate Steve. He walk on my heart like Filipino man. I think he is different, but he same. I feel in love and he just use me as a chatmate. I am too old enough for a chatmate. I am old lady waiting on Steve. Does he think I am not pretty or I am too old? Enough, Steve.
I did not sleep well after finding out I was being so insensitive and selfish, and I had to make that decision. Do I just stop chatting and ruin the best part of my day and possibly break her heart? Or do I commit a ton of money and time to fly 9,000 miles to a foreign country that I know nothing about to meet a girl that I know next to nothing about? This is a lose-lose situation, and I am not looking forward to this decision. After a night of guilty tossing and turning, I woke up for work with no video call from Luzelle. I know she is mad, and she has every right to not be led down the primrose path. So I let her cool down, and I head to work and skip stopping by HR to see her sister Leah. My caseload is slow today, so I fire up the computer to see what traveling to the Philippines even looks like. It looks like 27 hours of traveling in a tin tube from Oklahoma City to Denver, to San Francisco, to Taipei, and finally to Angeles City. Oh, but wait, there's more. You can get a 3.5-hour taxi ride to Baguio from Angeles for $60. The flight alone was $3,100 this late in the game. Well, I better get some work done and mull this over. Who was I kidding? All I could think of was Luzelle having a bad time because of me. I booked that flight. I took a picture of my itinerary and messaged it over to her so she could see it when she woke up. Apparently she wasn't sleeping, as she immediately called me and asked if it was real. I assured her it was, and I would be in the Philippines for the month of December. I told her to go to sleep so I could work and we would talk later. I no sooner started my reports and Leah comes running into my office and hugs my neck and says, "Congratulations. I am so happy for you and my sister." Just then Sarge walks in and gets briefed on my action and tells Leah to calm down. Don't forget, baby steps. Don't pressure the fella. Everybody calms down and work goes as usual, and I jump into my truck and call Luzelle to sort this out as I'm leaving in 4 days. And I feel like a duck out of water. I start to pack, but then realize I better check the internet for what to pack. The The Philippines is a hot weather country, or so I thought. According to the Weather Channel, I will need to pack long pants and long sleeve shirts for early morning and evening time. It seems that Baguio is at elevation and the mountains, and thus the cooler temperatures. Glad I checked. I start watching YouTube videos about the culture and how to act when I get there. To say I am overwhelmed would be an understatement, but I soldier on and wade through many videos to try and be prepared.
I think I'm mad at Steve, but he surprised me and booked his flight to see me. I am sure he loved me to spend too much money to just see me. I am so happy to have foreign boyfriend and I can't wait to see him in person at airport. I'm sure I will cry. But now I must make myself ready for Steve. I must clean my room at my apartment and I must book a room for Steve before we go to my parents for celebration for us. I hope we get along and he propose me before he leave back for America. I know my father will love Steve, they are both policemen. It has been many years since I have boyfriend and I hope to be best girlfriend for Steve.
I head to the airport and call Luzelle after I check in and get to my gate. Luzelle said to be careful and let me know every stop, even if she is asleep, and she would take a bus to Clark to pick me up at the airport. I appreciated that, as I know it isn't cheap for her and is going to be a long bus ride. I kept my word and messaged at every quick layover and called at the long ones. She answered every call and message, and that made me feel cared about, and I was really ready to meet her at the airport. The further I was away from the U.S., the more my past woes were washing away. As we landed, I was a new man and ready to meet a new woman. I make it through all the airport and customs hang-ups and head out the doors to see Luzelle. As I turn the corner, I see her standing there. She is even more beautiful in person. Long, shimmering, straight black hair, dark brown eyes, and light brown skin. She is built just like you would expect, a little over 5 feet tall and thin, and I couldn't believe my luck. We rush together, and she hugs me tightly, but she couldn't talk to me because she is ugly crying and just kisses my hands until she stops crying. I would normally find this awkward, but I think she probably has some baggage, as I have also, and maybe she is letting it go in the moment.
I pay 800 pesos bus fare to travel Angeles to meet my boyfriend at the airport. I arrive early and sit and wait him. I go to CR and refresh my face and wait him outside terminal doors. I am so nervous that he get on plane and will find me. I see him and run to him. I cry too much tears and hug him. He is real. I can feel him. He is very handsome man with all his hair and teeth. We go to Jollibee for quick food and then to the mall to catch bus to my hotel. We sit for 4 hours on bus and we talk for 2 hours straight, and finally my nerves calm down and I fall asleep on his arm.
Luzelle takes me to a popular burger joint that was super cheap. I got what I paid for, but I really didn't even taste the food for staring into Luzelle's eyes and chatting in person. She has a kind and quiet demeanor that I find attractive. We jump on a well-worn bus and travel to Baguio for a 4-hour ride. I'm wore out, but I can't sleep for looking out the window at the landscape that I have never seen before except on the internet. There was so much to look at, and I was loving every minute of it. One thing I found cool driving into Baguio was there were pine trees. It was like a taste of home, but everything else was not like home. We get a taxi to her hotel, and she checks me in and shows me her small room on the basement floor. It was very neat and clean, and that tells me a lot about her. She takes me up to my room, and we say our goodbyes until the morning. Luzelle is knocking at my door early and tells me she has breakfast coupons, so we must go down before she goes to work. The breakfast buffet was 4 different kinds of rice, 2 different local sausages that I found suspect, bread, scrambled eggs, and fruit. The price was right, so I made the best of it. We talked throughout breakfast, and she walked me back up to my room. We hugged, and I took the opportunity to bend down and kiss her lightly on the lips. She seemed a little embarrassed, but didn't stop me. As I went to turn, she said, "Careful, I love you." My heart and stomach dropped, but she was on the elevator before I could gather myself enough to protest. I spent the next hour deciphering what her "I love you" meant. Too soon. Baby steps are called for. I'm not there yet, and it appears she is. I decided to chalk it up to her excitement and take a nap and try to combat some jet lag. I wake up later, shower, get dressed, and head out to explore around the hotel. I grab a bite at the 7-Eleven because it was familiar, and just walk around one hilly block at a time so I didn't get lost. My Google Maps on my phone did not work, so I was being careful not to stray too far away. I stopped in a park to sit and watch the people go by, and I get a bunch of messages all at once. It was Luzelle, and she seems frantic. "Where are you? I went to your room. You are gone. Are you okay? Did you leave me? Did you find a new Filipina? Please answer." Wow. A bit dramatic, but I messaged her back my whereabouts, and she seems to calm down after finding out my intentions were good. As I'm sitting in the park enjoying the great weather, I couldn't help but notice many females that walked by would look at me and smile big. I would smile back, and they would giggle and look away. I also noticed how attractive seemingly every one of them were. Anyways, back to the hotel for the end of Luzelle's shift. I knock on her basement room, and she pulls the door open and hugs me like she thought she lost me and pulled me into her room. She said she was scared I had left her and I should let her know when I am going out, just to be safe. I said I would, but I felt a little stifled. We spent much of the next few days hiking the mountains and seeing the sights and having romantic dinners, but Luzelle never invited me to her room or would spend the night in my room. I cautiously questioned her one night at dinner, and she said we would wait until I met her parents for the celebration in a few days, and certainly not before we are engaged. This, combined with the "I love yous" and the overprotectiveness I was experiencing, was way too much. I felt dizzy. So I went up to my room, blaming jet lag and the bad 7-Eleven food. I set an early alarm, and when I woke up, I packed my bag and headed out in a taxi towards the SM Baguio Mall. I dropped by a small boutique hotel and had to pay early check-in, but I had to get some space and escape what I felt like was entrapment. Sure, Luzelle was beautiful, had a job, never married, and no kids, but the "I love yous" hurt my ears. After a few hours of sleep, I felt better and woke up to 24 messages from Luzelle. I didn't read them. I couldn't right now, so I shut my phone off. I know it sounds cruel, but I wasn't where I could think straight, and it is best not to say anything when you are upset. I grabbed breakfast at McDonald's, and as I was leaving, my coffee fell off my tray. I tried to catch it, but it spilled on a woman's shoes. I apologized profusely, and she said it's okay, and as I walked away in shame, I thought, even women with coffee all over their shoes are beautiful here. I headed out to the park and sat and tried to think, but my head was clouded with thoughts of beautiful women kept passing by, exercising and walking briskly past in spandex shorts. This didn't help clear my head, but it sure made me smile. I walked around the mall and stopped at an Italian place to have some pizza for lunch, and as I got up to use the restroom, I absent-mindedly bumped into a woman and say, "Excuse me." She furrows her brow and sternly looks at me and says, "Coffee man," and continues walking out as I notice her coffee-stained shoes from earlier. What a buffoon I am. I vow to pay better attention as I go back to the hotel to nap. I spend a little time at the pool and then clean up and go to a resto bar for dinner and decide on a few beers to unwind. After a few beers, I see an attractive Filipina walk by me and reach out and bump into me on purpose. How rude, I think. She starts laughing and says, "Hello, coffee man." I continue to apologize, and I offer to buy her a drink, and she sits down. She's very outgoing and very funny. We are having a great time, and she asks where I am staying. I tell her, and she says she will walk me there so I don't attack any more women today. We stop at the hotel bar and get a nightcap and head to the room. She comes in and we chat and finish our drinks, and she goes to the restroom and I hear the shower running. "What are you doing?" I ask. "I work all day. I shower," she says. I'm starting to panic. The beer made me let this go too far. She comes out of the shower wrapped in a towel and comes in and hugs me and starts trying to kiss me. I resist and she says, "What is wrong? We had a great time today." I agreed, but said, "I don't know you very well." She said, "You know me well," as she begins to look a little perturbed. I say, "Now is not the right time," and she goes to kiss me again and whispers, "I love you, and you will love me after tonight." I pull away and ask her to leave, and she starts screaming at me in her language and starts throwing the coffee pot and other hotel items at me as she gathers her clothes and runs down the hallway screaming and knocking on doors the whole way.
Steve go to his room because he feels sick. I let him rest so we can be ready for our celebration in our province. When I go to his room in morning, he is not answering. I use key because I am scared he is sick. But he is gone. I message him all day but he no answer. He is gone. I knew he is too good to be true. He is a bad cano. My heart is broken. I call my sister to ask what she has done to me. I am shamed by this man, her friend. I stay in my room and cry and call, but he no answer.
I smooth things over with the hotel staff, but they tell me I have to leave first thing in the morning. I didn't sleep much, and I did the walk of shame the next morning and went to Starbucks for a strong coffee and to turn on my phone. As my phone comes on, I get a call from Leah. She asked me in a not-so-nice voice what I had done to defile her sister. I was just honest. The I love yous were hard to take. I also told her about always be careful and call and let me know you're okay and the such. Leah let me speak and then said matter-of-factly, "For such a good cop, you sure missed all the clues." "How so?" I asked. "Be careful is our way of hinting we like you. Let me know you are okay is our way of saying we value you. And I love you is actually a cultural flaw. We Filipinos fall in love hard and fast. If she said it to you, you must take it as a compliment, not a jail sentence. You do whatever you want, but do not leave Baguio without sorting this out with my sister. I recommended you, and you're not going to make me look like a fool in front of my family." I said I understood and hung up. I spent most of the day just walking around and thinking. Mostly thinking that I really have hit the jackpot with Luzelle, and if I had the time, I could have been better prepared for the culture shock I walked into. I got a taxi back to Luzelle's hotel and went and knocked on the door. She opened the door and immediately slapped my face. I stood there and took my medicine and continued to apologize. She then hugged me just as hard as she had slapped me, and then she told me to sit down on her bed and went to get a cold washcloth to nurse my slapped face back to health, all the while holding back tears and saying sorry for slapping me. She said even though I was terrible to her and I shamed her, she still waited for me. As she finished with my face, she kissed my slapped cheek gently and said, "I love you." I said, "I love you too," and we went to dinner. The next day was a celebration in the province for us. It seemed like much ado about nothing until we got there just before dark. There were approximately 200 people milling around her parents' house. There were people singing loudly into a karaoke machine, table after table after table after table of side dishes and fruits. Everyone drinking beer and coconut wine and a giant roast pig 3 Filipinos were feverishly whacking with hatchets. String lights lit up and smoky fires here and there, and everyone hugging and congratulating Luzelle and then hugging me and shaking my hand, and every person there professed to being an aunt or an uncle or a cousin or a grandparent of Luzelle. I was certainly made to feel special. I could have freaked out again, but I decided to just fit into this culture and not ruin it for Luzelle, and by doing so I had the time of my life. Things calmed down when everyone got a bite to eat and sat down at tables. Luzelle and I had a special table up front. It felt more like a wedding reception than a welcome to the Philippines party, but when in Rome, I whispered to Luzelle, "Why is everyone treating me so special?" She said, and she responded, "They know how special you are to me, and they want you to feel special to them."
I forgive Steve and take him back. I know dating Filipina can be hard for foreign. I love him so much and he agreed to go to my province for welcome celebration. We go and everyone's so happy. I feel like the mayor of my province. Everyone's so good to Steve and he tried to fit in. I have so much pride in Steve. Family and friends talk to him and even my father shake his hand and talk about police. My father tells Steve, "You are good man, you take care of my daughter." We eat lechon boy and rice and Steve try coconut wine. We dance and we sing karaoke. Then at end of karaoke song Steve talk into microphone, say he love me and I will marry him. I cry and say yes and everyone rush to me and hug and cry with me. We marry 3 months later and we still marry today.